Welcome to Our Life. Today on Our Life, we're going to explore one word, which is racism. Racism has been around for decades. Some of us have experienced racism. Some of us still partake in racism. So let me give you one removing the mask fact that should not be a debate on any level. Racism is still strong today in 2020 in individual lives. So when we return from this quick break, you're going to meet my awesome panel of guests, and we're going to sit down and try to at least remove half of the mask, because I don't know if we're going to be able to remove the whole thing, on racism. So we'll be right back. And we're back now with my awesome panel of guests I do not know. So do not hold me. Let me do the disclaimer now. Don't hold me responsible for anything that comes out these individual mouths. Because I did vet them, but I think it's going down the wrong road. And so, but I want to introduce my first guest here, Miss Veronica Carroll. I've been knowing her for a very, very long time.
Yes.
She is the founder of the Talented 20s. She works with kids from a young age, teaching them to sing, dance, everything, and phenomenal. One of the kids, I met him when he was a kid, and now he's at Juilliard, correct?
No, actually, he's with he's at the Alvin Ailey School.
Yeah.
He's on his third year.
Yeah, tell him I'm gonna get him because he didn't call me when I was in New York. So
I'm gonna beat him up.
And then we have Miss Carrie Clark is here with us. I met her through one of my sponsors, Mr. Nolan Davis. So I want to say thank you for being here and sitting on this crazy panel. Which don't let Miss Carrie fool you. She's quiet now. But So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I have celebrity photographer, Mr. Farrell E. Phelps, with us today. So also thank you for being here with us.
Absolutely.
As well. And he has a wonderful project, the Skin I'm In models, and he has launched his modeling company for that.
Yes, we just launched the modeling agency.
So
Wow.
You guys need to check that out and look into that most definitely. I don't know if I'm too old. I'm going to get with him and see if I'm too old to jump into that.
We have a class for seniors.
Okay, moving on. See?
He was ready for you. He was ready. He was ready for you.
She started.
Now.
And I have my last guest, Mr. Terry Thompson. He's been with me before on the show. And give me the name of the company again.
HealthFirstNation.com.
HealthFirstNation.com. And that's why I was trying to forget that, because he always trying to make me to stay on the healthy track, but I still eat my noodles. I actually ate some last night.
We talked about
All that sodium.
We talked about
Stay out of this. So
I can't come back.
you met all of them, but now we're going to jump into this topic. Most people don't like to talk about it. And when people do talk about it, they skirt around different areas of it. So I'm going to come in a little easy with you guys, and I'm going to jump in by saying, how do each of you view racism in 2020? And the reason why I say that is because I feel racism in 2020 is a different level, a different playing field than it was decades ago. So how do you guys view racism in 2020?
I view it as progressive. You know, just like you said, it has different levels. And so, I mean, for instance, the Crown Act is necessary. You know what I'm saying? Why would the Crown Act be necessary? Why can't a kid go to school with their hair the way it grows out of their head? You understand what I'm saying? And so, it used to be the color of your skin. Well, now
It's past that.
right. Well, now we can no longer discriminate, against you because of the color of your skin. So now we're going to put you out of school because we don't like the way your hair grows out of your head.
And we're going to get to that.
I'm too.
Yeah, you be moving.
I be moving.
We're gonna get to Miss Kara. How do you feel? You be moving. We're gonna get to
Oh, I was
that.
about to say something.
Well, I don't know. I have a different view. My view is in 2020, I think due to Donald Trump being in office, I
Okay.
believe that was what was always there was now allowed to bubble up to the surface
agree
again.
with that.
I personally do not believe it was ever eradicated. And now he's given these groups or these people
Free speech.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's not even free speech.
It
It's
shouldn't be
just
free speech, but they
it's-
hold it under that.
yeah, so now they feel like they can just
Just took
put
the
it
sheets
all
off.
out there for everybody to see.
And also, you are retired military, correct?
I'm not retired. I spent 10 years in the military,
What branch?
Navy.
Navy. Okay. Mr. Farrell.
Yeah,
How
I
do
have
you
to concur with what she said because a lot of the racism that already existed has now come to the surface, and it's due to the head. The head turns the body, and when we look at our society today, the body has been turned
Yeah.
due to our leadership.
That's good.
And I don't think much has changed when I look back at it. And and coming from a background myself of creating projects like the Freedmanstown
Yeah.
documentary project, that was basically talking about slaves and how far we had come as a people. When I study where we are today, I realize not a lot has changed. And unfortunately, change doesn't take place until it takes place at the foundation, and the foundation is family.
Yeah.
We have to start with
Absolutely.
our families. We have to
That's
start with
good.
how we talk to our kids and tell our kids different things and say different things to kids.
So I'm gonna
And I-
stop you there. I'm gonna put you by Miss Carol.
I'm sorry. All right. All right.
Flow.
Look,
But
You
but
are-
wait, we're gonna come back to that. So let me hear what your view is on racism in 2020. Then I want to come back to that.
This was a great stepping stone because it's leading me to social media and information age. This social media, like they said, it's always been here. We thought it was gone. But what social media has done is give us a clear view that is
Yeah.
there because now people in their own homes, they can show you who they are. And by freedom of speech, they can say what they want. And social media tells people, say what you want. Be yourself. It's a very narcissistic world.
But they're not
Oh,
being
absolutely.
themselves. Half of the people on social media
they're
is not being
speaking,
themselves.
I believe they're speaking the things that I've seen on social media, the racism from cops, all the way.
Stop.
I
Can't get it in, huh?
Oh, we're all getting
When
a
I
whooping.
tell you my guests are hard heads. So let me hold that thought. I want to go back to that because I was not going to ask this question because the question was, do you guys think it's taught? And yes, it is taught.
Yes.
And that's when to go back to you and talk about family and in the home. But also to that is, where do you guys think racism was birthed from? Because the things that I researched is basically a group of individuals that felt that they were superior to another race back then. And it just went from there. And then if you still have those views, then you bring that into your household, like you talk about family. So go back to you talk about family.
Absolutely. Racism starts in the family, and it can also be eradicated in the family.
If you
And
want it to be.
If you want it to
want
be.
Everything is a choice.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is a choice. And when we learn to look at people, as human beings, as people that God created, I think our society could change instantly. When we understand that you're my sister.
Yeah.
She's my sister. That's my brother. He might be Hispanic, but that's my brother. God created each and every one of us.
Yeah.
And when we talk about racism, and you're talking about the history of racism, let's go back to the beginning of time. Let's go back to slavery, the slavery period. Let's go back to the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863. Let's talk about that type of thing. And we as African American people were conditioned a long time ago by the Caucasian persuasion to believe that we were less than. And so when you're less than, you're treated in a substandard kind of
Yes.
way.
Correct.
Not only that, but it also created racism within our races when they divided us from house to field.
Yes,
Correct.
they did
So-
the division, but one thing I said this morning on the way here, I note we to me, as African American people, we do not work together like we should. And back then, on those plantations, yes, you had probably somebody like me being light skinned. I was in the house. You had someone dark being in the field. But when it was time for us to make a plan to get off that plantation, all of us, light and dark, no matter where you worked on the plantation, you all came together and you got off that plantation if that was the plan. We don't do that today. I don't think we do.
Well, and here's the deal. There's unity, there's power in unity.
Correct.
When we're able to, me as a one person, as a singular person, I don't have the power that I have collectively with you guys.
Right.
We have power together.
Yeah.
And when we come to realize that, then we're powerful. But until we get to that place, so we ourselves have to come to an understanding that within our own culture, and I'm talking about racism within our own culture.
Yeah.
Our own culture. And of course, having created the Skin I'm In project,
Yeah.
so much of that came to the surface in that
It
project.
did, it did.
And the prejudices that exist simply based on melanin,
Yeah.
something we can't change, something we can't help. But when we come to a place of understanding that we're God's people, God created us, you're my sister, you're my sister, you know what I'm saying? When we get to that place, it'll help the world to be a better place. But
would.
it does not happen without somebody taking a stand, without somebody saying, I'm no longer going to exist in prejudice. Let me just give you a really quick story, and I know we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, because we're going to get ready to take a break and move to the next segment.
Okay, just yesterday, my car stopped on me yesterday on Richmond, and everybody was passing by honking. You know, folks curse you out when your car stopped, and all this. And everybody that asked if I needed help was Caucasian. And it made me think, man, you know, all this hatred that we think exists in the world, not everybody hates everybody.
No.
You got a lot of love in each race. So we have to make sure we don't compartmentalize one race to keep us separated as individual people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive deeper, and this segment will be on law enforcement, racism in law enforcement and government. So we'll be right back. We're back now. So before we go into the law enforcement and government panel, I want to backtrack a little bit more on what Mr. Farrell said about family. So Ms. Carey wanted to share with us her family experience growing up and with racism. So go ahead, Ms. Carey.
I just wanted to say that I do believe that it is taught in the home. I grew up in North Dakota where everybody was white and looked just like me. And the people that they discriminated against were the Native Americans, because that, you know, there wasn't anything else, and that was very much taught. So when I joined the Navy, I was like an open slate to other races, and when I went to boot camp, if it wasn't a gal by the name of Baker, who was a black girl from Brooklyn, I would have never got out of boot camp because I couldn't get out of bed. And she made sure I was on the line every day. And because I was an open book, I didn't know that, you know, this really existed so much. And so when I was in the Navy, I was introduced to so many different people. And I gravitated towards black people, black women in particular, you know what I mean, like me, hang out. My first duty station was in Bermuda. I went to the first year that they had Black History Month, and I showed up to this big event. I was the only white person, but I never really even realized that. And in 10 years, I never really recognized so much racism. And then when I was stationed in New Jersey, it hit me full face, and you know, right in the face, and I was like, oh my goodness, I did not know so many people were so racist, you know. So I know it's taught.
And did you, being a kid, and because you kind of was raised up in that kind of household, did you rebel to that, or you just?
Well, I didn't even recognize it at because it was never brought up. Nobody
Yeah.
ever spoke about it because there was nothing to speak about it against because it wasn't in our environment. But as I got older and then my parents realized, you know, that I was associating with all different races,
Yeah.
that's when it started pretty much coming up to the surface. And I was like, oh my goodness. You know, like the stuff I couldn't even believe my own family would say. I was like, what?
Did you? Yeah, give me one. Did you ever ask them, why don't you like this race? Did you ever ask them that to see? Because you have to. To me, if you don't like somebody, if I don't like you, I know why I don't like you. Bottom line. So, did you ever ask them to say,
Well,
why don't you like this
By that
race?
time, I was an adult, and I just figured it's just complete ignorance at that point. But more arguments and fights, and you know, and I was pretty aggressive about it. So I had my view, and they had their view. And now I realize if I could do it over again, because my parents are dead, my grandparents are dead, that I would approach it differently. Like I would ask for their input, try to understand a little more. But before I was just fighting with them.
What do you want to say, Ms.?
Well, you know, my pastor used to tell me a long time ago that more is caught than taught. So even if you're not openly saying we don't like black people, we don't like Native Americans, we don't like, you know, whatever race, they watch how you treat them. You know, even my son, he would hug whoever I hugged. He would talk to whoever I talked to. And if I appeared to shun somebody, then he wouldn't talk to them as well.
Yeah.
So kids see what you do more than they hear what you say.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into this. Oh Lord, this topic here: law enforcement and government. So, why do you guys think we side with things that are wrong because of race? And I say that because I'm gonna use African Americans. We're good to jump on the bandwagon on many things. Don't know the full story, but when this person has committed a crime, and we know that for a fact that they committed a crime, but we still gonna hold protest marches and do all this foolishness simply because they are African Americans.
I tell you, if you committed a crime, I'm not holding a picket sign for you. And I know this is very unpopular, and y'all gonna disagree with me on this, but let me just go and say it.
Oh Lord.
I think Sandra Bland should have put her cigarette out, got her ticket, and went home. Now,
I agree.
I think she should have got her ticket, and if she thought the officer was wrong, then you go and you file a grievance against that officer. That cigarette was not that important. Put that cigarette out, get your ticket, and then go home.
But she was an advocate, see? So it was already in her
But
mental
was that the
program
time?
to
Different.
fight.
But was that the time?
It wasn't, but if she was in a program to fight. Already, if you looked at her page, she was already just a black militant girl against that. And see, we're programmed to have, black people are programmed to fight, white people are programmed to be white power. It started so many years ago.
They're programmed to be victims.
Yes.
Not power. They're programmed to be, I'm sorry.
No,
you're
they're
good.
white.
They're
They're white power. It's a mentality. When I say white power, don't mean they have power, but
Yeah.
they're programmed to think
Right.
that they have the power when
Right.
not. That's why justice in our judicial system is unequal because they think they're higher, and it's not something that's true, as we know.
Yes.
But that's something that comes from a lot of history that we
Yeah.
don't got time to go into. That
Correct.
led up to that.
Correct.
You and Carrie is quiet. Y'all are quiet. I'm gonna wait till
I'm gonna
y'all
run
finish.
out of here right about now. No. When we talk about Sandra Bland, and I know people that work very closely with the Sandra Bland
Right.
case, and I've interviewed them actually. My opinion is slightly different than yours. And a lot of times when we have operate in retrospective type
Right.
of way, we can see things differently. You know, oh, I wish I would have did this, wish I would have
Yeah,
did that.
yeah, yeah.
I think the cop also had the ability to operate differently. And a part of the way the cop operated with her caused her to escalate. Now, was it right for her to escalate to the level that she did? That was a choice that she made at that time. I don't think that it should have led to what it ultimately led to, which
Correct.
was her death. And I feel that, here's the deal, especially coming from a position of being an advocate for racism, and this, that, and the other, which Sandra Bland was. I understood her platform.
Yes.
Definitely understood her
Understood
platform
it as
without
well.
any. I mean,
Absolutely.
yes, without any doubt.
Absolutely.
Could it have been handled differently? Yes, it could have been handled differently, but it ultimately led to her death, which is sad. And we have to stand for something. We have to stand for something. And I believe that there is a purpose, even in her passing, her death, there is a purpose because it ignited us to make some changes. It ignited us to look at these law officials that are out here treating people unjustly. It ignited us to take a look and be introspective when it comes to ourselves as well. It ignited a lot of change that was across the board, that was global, all over the world. This thing hit. It caused changes in the police department. That's in that small country, in that small town near Prairie View. There's a street named after her right now. You know, I mean, of course, none of that matters because she's gone.
Right.
But a bigger statement was made than her passing. You know, the aftermath of it. I hate that it happened.
Yeah.
It was sad. We don't want to see anybody killed. We don't want to see anybody unjustly. But the police department has been corrupt since the beginning of
So,
time.
Can I just make
Creations
a
of
point?
So let's see before you make the point, Ms. Carey.
Okay, so they should have. They're in a position to de-escalate, not escalate. That's what
Exactly.
they're there for. Now you talk. Does the crime fit the punishment? No.
Well,
There was no crime.
the original question was basically, why do we side with
Oh.
things that are wrong, and
Well-
because it's the same race, whatever race
There's
it may be.
Can I just say there's a syndrome, and I can't even remember what the real name of the syndrome is, but people basically become sheep when they're in a group and they can't step outside of it, and it's a real no-one syndrome. There was on the George Washington Bridge, there was like a woman kind of hit a guy in a traffic jam, but she just bumped his bumper. He got out of his car and he beat her with a
Tire iron?
tire iron in front of, because everybody was stopped in traffic, in front of hundreds of people, and people got out.
With their
And
cell
she ended up trying to get away from him, killing herself by jumping off the George Washington Bridge.
Oh.
And what they said was, people when they're in a group mentality, they stay in that group mentality, and they're afraid. They said that if one person would just make a move, then other people would make a move. So I tend to think that's why people will stay. They're afraid to be different. They're afraid to separate themselves from their pack.
That culture.
I don't want. Go ahead and make your point.
But back to the police though. The thing is that Chris Rock said one time when Siegfried and Roy, one of them got mauled by a tiger, and then they put on the headlines the tiger went crazy. That tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. And so if you already know that particular section or group has a proclivity to do wrong more than not, then what you do is you err on the side of caution. My son was on a bus with a white woman hollered nigga, 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 nigga. My son is a big dude. She kept saying nigga. I can say nigga because my boyfriend is in there. She kept saying it. And I was on the phone with her. He said, Mama, what do I do? I said, shut up. Why would I tell my son, you tell that girl to sit down? No, my son is a big dude. If he'd have said, ma'am, if my son, listen, and my son is a very mild-mannered, everybody said about their child, but he really is very calm. Had he got up and said, you are offending me, guess what she would have done? Oh my God, the big black man is scaring me. She would have went all Permit Patty and Barbecue Becky on him.
So
I said, close your mouth.
So let me say this,
Yes.
because I don't want us to dwell on Sandra Bland for one. The events that happened back then that day definitely could have been avoided. Any other activists would not have handled that situation in that manner. The police officer definitely deserved what he got, because you, for one, didn't even know what to charge her with.
Nope.
Because I heard that call, and you didn't even know what to charge her with. So I do not and never felt like they killed her. I think mental health played a role in that too, because they couldn't get her out in a timely fashion per se. So she was there for that amount of time. Again, it shouldn't have happened. But I think with individuals, sometimes we kind of jump on bandwagons and not know the whole story, and we just go along with it. And because I've had people tell me I need to support my race more, and I need to quit going here and giving them business. I need to give my race business. And I'm the type of person, I don't look at color. I really don't. It's whoever gives me the correct service. Another question when it comes to police officers, and I know you want to say something, and you can. Do they need race training? But go ahead and give me the first statement.
Come on, do that.
Go ahead and give me. Go ahead and give me what you was about to say.
What?
Okay.
Go ahead and give me what you wanted to say
Okay.
on that, because I didn't want us to because that's always going to be a hot topic. Everybody have their own views on that, so I didn't want us to really harp on that. But tell me what you want to say on that. But do they need race training?
Absolutely. I totally agree that officers definitely need race training, without any doubt. That's across the board, especially Caucasian officers. That's how I feel about it. But I just want to go back kind of quickly to what we were talking about when we were talking about jumping on the bandwagon when we see somebody might have done something wrong. I'm going to go back to the O.J. Simpson case. We all, as African American people, were rooting for O.J.
I wasn't.
I was rooting. I'm not going to lie. I was rooting for O.J.
I didn't root for him, but let me say, I wasn't rooting for him, but I knew he wasn't smart enough to kill them two people. So I wasn't finna root for him, but I
wrong
knew he wasn't
reasons.
smart
All the
enough.
wrong reasons. I know I
But
did.
here's the
Smart
deal.
enough to kill them two.
And for me, it felt like, okay, finally, we as African American people are getting some justice now. You know, because so often people have done things to us and gotten away with it. So
Yeah.
hell, it's our turn to do something to get away with.
Correct.
So I jumped on that. I ain't gonna lie. I jumped on it. Go OJ. You know, I really
just
was.
knew he
I was on
wasn't
that.
smart enough to do that. But we're gonna move on because they telling me I got to get out this segment, Jesus. So this is my thing when I ask the question: do you believe they need race training? Because what I've noticed with police departments, they will place black police officers in black areas, white police officers in white areas, Hispanic police officers in Hispanic areas. You need to start putting all races of police officers in every area so they can get to know those communities and the people.
Correct.
Because don't get me wrong, you have some very corrupt, dirty police officers.
Black
Bottom
and white.
line, they just arrested the black man with the raid, but we're not gonna
is
go into that. But I've dated police officers. I've worked with police officers, so I do know not all of them are bad, but you do have some very bad, corrupt police officers. So that's why I say that, because you want to put a certain color in a certain area of town. You need to put them everywhere so they could be seen everywhere.
Diversify their
But do you guys
assignments.
believe officers are in fear? And I asked this to my men panel when I did a men's show a while back, and I took them all the way back to slavery and so forth. But do you guys believe that officers are in fear for their lives, or are they just racist?
No.
I think it's a combination.
It's a combination.
That's what I think
Yeah.
too.
It's definitely a combination.
Especially if you're a young rookie in a known bad area, you might get a little frightened.
I mean, because officers, you got to remember, they're coming, if you're a white officer or a black officer, you're coming from your culture. Your culture gave you a perception.
Oh yeah.
So if
Absolutely.
you become a cop, then you get their programming.
So
And so when
But you shouldn't become a
You
cop
shouldn't.
if you have that mind frame that you don't like a certain race or a certain culture. You shouldn't even
because
be a
most
cop.
people, they don't think they hate that bad. People that hate
They
don't
don't
know
think
they're
they're
haters.
they don't
They
think
don't
they're
know
racist.
it. And then when they get into a situation, you see them act violently.
Yeah.
You just see the fruit of what's in their heart. What's in your heart comes out of your mouth.
Yes,
your
it
mouth
does.
means your
You
action.
can't hide it.
It ain't the mouth, it's your action. So
That's it.
I don't listen to what people say. I watch what they do.
Watch what they do.
Yeah, there
Always.
it is.
You can tell me what you want. I'm not
All
listening
you
to that.
want
I'm
to.
watching your actions.
That's
There
it.
it is. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be back and we're going to explore racism amongst the different races.
Come on.
Because I think that's it's pretty much where we are right now. So we'll be right back. And we're back now. So as you guys see, that last segment, I knew it was going to get heated. I didn't even get a chance to go in the government. I'm scared to even. I don't think I want to backtrack because my people are going to get upset with me if I backtrack and go into government because we touched simply on law enforcement. We didn't even go into government. And I think Ms. Karras spoke on government earlier. She done called out, see, I'm going to end up getting a notice from the president because Ms. Karras don't put his name out there. But I think she summed it up when she talked about government, so we're going to leave that alone. We're going to go back to, we're going to get into this racism among races. Do you guys think racism among races, is it a cultural thing? What?
It's always-
Institutional.
we were always meant to be divided.
Yes.
As long as we stay at war with each other first, in our own homes, it's a seed. Your
Yeah.
home is your seed, we're divided. We come out to our neighbors, we're divided. We get into our workplace, we're divided. Then when we get amongst friends, we're divided. It's meant to keep us fighting so the elite can stay in power.
And when
off
I did
of our pain.
when I did the men's show,
I like that.
When I did the men's show, I talked to them when we went into the prison segment. They divide you in the prison system
Come on,
too,
it's deliberate.
as well.
It was written by our forefathers. This is the way we conquer and divide. We keep the people consciously and physically divided. We stay in power.
And religiously.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because
so the prison system, in my opinion, and this may not be popular, I just believe it is like when they had to get rid of slavery in the plantations, then this is just another form of slavery, is the prison systems. And now that they're letting people, the people that are getting arrested 3 times for marijuana and they go to prison for life, now that they're letting them out, well, now we have to do something, fill those prisons back up because they're for profit.
Yeah.
They're not run
They
by the
make a
government.
lot
They're
of
not
money.
nonprofit, right?
They make
And
a
so
lot
the
of money.
next phase is the immigrants. We're going to fill those prisons with immigrants, and do not think that they are not making things for us in prison. Plus, they're making money because they're for profit. Everybody's making money from their supply chain, the food, the furniture.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody is
the
making
prisoners
money.
themselves have to pay
The
a
state.
fee every day in the prison. I'm like, who does? What do you go to
Where's
jail
the
and
money
you still
coming
gotta
from?
pay?
To pay a fee.
I don't know. That's their problem. I don't know what they
And
got.
what I find, we're not gonna call his name, but he wants to build a wall except for the people that work for him. We want to build a wall to keep them out, and we want to put everybody in those what looks like concentration camps. Okay, but except the people that work for me. You understand what I'm saying?
It can't be both
Absolutely.
ways.
Correct. Except the ones that work for me, then everybody else gotta go.
Yeah.
So
It's like no.
Absolutely, that's wrong.
explain to everybody about some races that don't get along, but they are from the same place.
I grew up.
Because you have Oriental people. You have Koreans. If you come across a Japanese person or a Chinese person, and you actually mistake them for a Korean, they probably cut you. What the?
They will.
It's interesting when we talk about the prejudices that exist within races, and it's kind of across the board when we talk about light and dark.
Yeah.
In the Indian culture, the darker you are, the less you are. In the Spanish culture, it's the same thing. If you're closer to being white, then you're considered.
Yeah,
But if you're a darker person,
and they act like
then
that
you're-
as well.
Therefore,
so these
perpetuating the
things
slave mentality.
all across the board.
perpetuating
And it's when you really think about it, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
It really
It
is.
is.
It is the stupidest thing ever. But again, we have to go back to the origin of it, and we have to kill these things at the root.
And what?
Go ahead,
Because
brother.
he over there just was
Stomping at the bit.
Because in order to understand this, we have to go back in history and what this planet was before 6,000 years ago. See, most of Western history starts at 6,000 years. You can research this, but there's history that goes back thousands of years before that. And when you see that history, it was all a darker skinned people. And what happened somehow in 6,000 years ago, it changed. And now when that suppression happened, it has smothered the true history. You have to go into Egyptian history, and it's not even Egypt, it was Ethiopia. So we don't even know our true history, and not just Africa. We're talking in America, Asia, we're everywhere. That's why we're seeing so many shades of color.
Because
and
I think we have a little bit of each other in ourselves. I
Yes.
really do believe that truly.
But that's kept from us.
Someone I know just did the ancestry DNA
or
thing.
whatever.
So
Yes.
he had all kind of stuff, and he's Hispanic. But it said the high number was like European, and I told him, I said, I see that, and you didn't know that? I see I see the European before I see the Hispanic side of you. But and then he even had black in it as well.
What we tend to forget, I don't know if y'all saw this movie, something about the water fountain. This boy went through the whole movie. His whole goal in life was to drink from the white water fountain. Have y'all seen that movie?
No.
But at the end, and so I didn't have anything else to do that day, so I just watched it. And but it was interesting. And what stuck with me is at the end, when he finally got a chance to drink from the white water fountain, side by side was the black water fountain and the white water fountain. But if you look underneath, the pipes were connected.
Oh wow!
And he looked underneath, he said, it's the same water.
Yeah.
You know, we may not all be
Significant.
brothers and
Wow.
sisters in culture, but we are
We are
brothers
the
and sisters
same.
in creation.
Yeah.
If you
Yes.
cut me, my blood is red.
Yeah.
We're
You
the
know,
same,
if
man.
you need a kidney, my kidney would work.
Yeah.
You don't need a.
We work
are
real
you,
good.
You're Caucasian?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I can't even tell. See, I can't tell.
So
I
she's
thought
all
she's, yeah.
Hispanic.
So, did you think she was? But if you needed a kidney,
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
dear heart, if
Thank
you
God
needed
she
a
was
kidney
Hispanic.
and I had a kidney to give you, and the doctor said it was a man, my kidney would work for you. You don't need a white kidney,
But you know, some people would not accept that.
you know.
But that's because of the programming. They keep
Some
us
people
away
will
from
not
knowing
accept that.
we all are the same, but they let our history, which it can be true, divide us.
And that foolishness, if you got 2.5%
Black,
African
then
American
you black.
blood in you black. How in the world did you separate that DNA? You got 2.5% black.
And so- and
Some ignorant
we
white
have to-
person thought of that.
And we have to have common sense.
Absolutely.
We have to operate
Dog
in
it.
common sense and think for ourselves. You know we do. And I just want to,
But a lot of people can't.
and a
That's
lot of
the
people,
sad
and that
thing.
is the sad
Really
part.
sad.
And we can know our history all day long.
Sure
Yeah.
can.
We can
And
know our history,
still-
and it's
and-
good to know our history all day long. We can know it, but what about now? What can we do today?
Hold on.
History is history.
Hold
She gonna
on.
put you out.
My bad. Okay, I'm sorry.
Fast is the fast.
You know what I'm saying? What are we doing
with
now,
you.
I
today?
am really enjoying y'all. Y'all are something.
Let's answer to that one.
She
Why
gonna kick
do
us out.
races? Why do some races work against each other? Because I think we work against each other.
Because we've been infiltrated with money. It's money. It's money. You don't want to be like them. You immediately learn you don't want to be associated with that. You want to, a friend of mine used the term hooked on a neighborhood. You don't want to be hooked on a neighborhood. You got to get out. You got to get out. You got to get out instead of coming in to rebuild. You got to get out. So everybody is so focused on getting a degree, getting a job, getting out, getting a degree, get a job, get out. That is what they're programmed to do.
And
Get
let me-
out.
and let
And
me
to leave
and-
the community.
to
because
leave the community, and
is,
don't
is
associate yourself with it.
that's
Right.
it. Yeah, it's seen as
and
yeah.
let me say something.
Commerce.
And can I? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You go ahead, and I'm gonna say something to what.
And
you
and
said.
sometimes too, when we go back to community to try to help community, we can get kind of disgruntled because community can act a fool sometimes with
Hooked
us.
on a
And we have to be
neighborhood.
trying to help you.
Yeah.
You know, so it can be frustrating even when you're trying to go back to the community and be a blessing to the community if they ain't catching the fact that you're trying to bless them. So it can be. I'm sorry, but it
No,
can
go
be,
ahead.
it can be frustrating for
It
us
can.
that
They'll
try.
have an ear, let them hear.
Come on, man.
Yeah, but they
Go
don't-
with the goers.
They don't know
Yeah.
any better because they, for whatever reason, some people are able to see something different, but other people are so ingrained in that whatever it is
Yeah.
that they can't really see how to get out of it.
Programming
You know,
is not meant
I
for you
would-
to be seen.
That's it.
It's
That's
not,
it. Programming,
That's why
that's it.
if you do have enlightenment, it's a beautiful thing.
Where
'cause
do you
it's
get
not
where do you
meant
get it? The
loving
enlightenment?
yourself. Once you
I
start
thought-
loving yourself, stop judging yourself, stop focusing on other people,
So
you start seeing.
I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna put all y'all out. I'm gonna
all get put
all
out.
y'all out. I'm gonna sit with my guests in the audience because they just running the whole show right here. But I want to say something. We're gonna end this segment and go to our final segment, and I'm gonna let you come back to that because that ties into our last segment. But one thing I always say, no matter what education you have, and especially I say this with African Americans because that's what I am, and I have Indian in me also. No matter what education you have, no matter what type of money you have, no matter how nice, expensive of a suit
Come on.
or dress or the red bottoms that you wear,
So
when you get in certain environments, they still look at
that's all
you
it sees.
You black.
as a black trash person that's beneath them. Bottom line,
Period.
no matter what. So you have to, as an individual, to not let that affect you and poison you
Correct.
like it has poisoned the United States. We have to change our mind frame. Still look above that. No matter how you look at me like I'm in the ditch, we need to just continue to rise above that in some type of way. But we are still looked, no matter what. Some Caucasian people, some Hispanic people, they'll talk to us, socialize with us, but that's only to a certain degree, and half of the time only because they have to. Because if some of them did not have to, they would not. So I'm going. Y'all want to say? I know y'all
I
want
just
to say
gonna say,
something.
now that
Say.
you can tell if someone is racist. I don't care what you come from.
Well,
Just
now,
go date that family member. This is how you'll find out.
Uh-huh.
now, and
Let that.
But can I say one thing?
yes, you can.
I'm probably gonna be good. But I don't know if y'all seen the Harriet movie. I like movies, y'all can tell. There was a scene in the movie where she was trying to get some people to go with her across that water.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't. Did you
Come
see
on,
that?
yes.
You got to go.
They
You
got
have to go
scared.
alone. Did you see that? She kept walking though.
She said, "Y'all." be
Did you
saying
see
that
her keep walking? And so when we talked about the frustration about going back and trying to help the neighborhood, and you said they don't know, sometimes you got to keep walking. Now this is the path, y'all. You know, this is how we're
know you
getting
can't
there,
swim.
y'all.
Come on, but I'm going on.
I'm going.
But I've been there. And if you just follow me, I've been there. I can show you how to get out. You know, and Harriet Tubman didn't. She did free a lot of slaves, but she didn't free all of them. She freed who was willing to go. Come with me. Whoever was
stay
willing
here.
to go.
I like that.
She said, "Come on with me." And that's what you have to do. Once you are blessed to come out, you come back and you say, "Come on." If you're willing to come.
Because
we are our brother's keeper.
Yeah.
Come on now.
You know.
Yeah.
But if you coming on, come on.
Yeah.
But
And
this
our brothers got to be willing to be kept too.
Yeah, because some of us are still
on.
stuck with a slavery mentality.
That's it.
Right.
Like we're
Right.
still being held, and some of us are still stuck with that racism mentality.
And the
think
jar is
it's-
open.
Yeah.
The jar is open,
And-
people.
and-
I
we're
think it's
past
fear at the very basic level. I think it's fear of the unknown. Can somebody tell me why, as a free society, because we're not free, why is it that we all stay in our own neighborhoods?
Okay, hold on.
Our own-
Don't even.
Oh, okay.
Don't answer her on
I
that.
said,
Did I go
Don't
wrong?
answer.
somebody need to
We'll
say
come
on that.
back to all that. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna go in our last segment, and we're gonna try to bring some type of clarity and see if we at least remove part of the mask on this topic. So we'll be right back. Okay, we're back in our last segment. I just love all of y'all. I threatened to put them out several times today. But I love all of them because y'all are phenomenal with this topic. Because you guys can debate and express how you feel and still just continue to go along with it. So I appreciate that. There wasn't no fights or nothing. Well, as of right now, it hadn't been any fights.
That's the way it should be. We brothers
Yeah,
and sisters.
exactly.
A disagreement shouldn't separate you.
There
Yeah.
you go. There
Right.
you go.
So why do you guys, and I know Mr. Terry and Ms. Carey was touching on that, why is it still here in 2020? Because we've come a good way because we're able to eat wherever we want to eat now and walk, go, travel, and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to sit in the back of the bus no more. We don't have to do that. Why is it still here?
Complacency.
I agree.
Complacency.
I think people lost their lives and had to fight tooth and nail to get to that place, and then it just stopped.
Mhm. So we all sit there, like you said, we can ride the bus, we can ride the plane, we can eat at the restaurant. So now we have pulled up to the counter
We
of
can ride.
freedom.
Yeah, we can
We have
voice our
pulled up
opinion.
to the counter of freedom, poured ourselves a cup of complacency, and now we're gonna sip our way through history. And that's what we're doing now. Except these millennials are like, nah. Some of us are like, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah, we don't like that construct.
I think you're right. We have become complacent, but I think it's promoted and it's wood thrown into the fire to keep it for the concept of conquer and divide. That's something that has been created on this planet a very long time ago.
Yeah.
And the elite families use that to keep them in power. So when they see it all, you ever notice it starts getting better in the world, feel like we're getting peaceful, and all of a sudden we get hit with something, a bomb or something,
Oh, yeah.
to keep us divided. And I think it's something coming from the head, and which is the elite families, which I recommend everybody go research those people.
Right, and they control us by fear.
Yes.
And so that's why we get the bombs and everything
Yes.
else, and
Absolutely.
because do you know how strong we would be as a human race if we actually came together
Yeah.
and worked together?
Yeah.
We all know
Yeah.
that there is something not right.
Yeah, because we
in
wouldn't
the
have
world
who we
with
have
the
in office if we
with
were.
the wealthy versus
And it
us.
wasn't the P, it's us, not us doing it, y'all. And whoever listening, it's not us. It's coming from not the government. It's called the elite race. And these people that nobody really knows about, please research the elite families. And not just their families, but their origin. Very important. You'll find something there. You'll find something there.
But those elite families also work through the government
They use them.
They own
because
them.
they have that
pawns.
type of
Come on.
So the government does play a role.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
let's
They work through
not.
the
They use
government. They control the
Oh,
government.
so they
control
own
the
them.
government.
They own them.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
They got
They're
them in
like
their
little
pockets.
they're the
Big
federal
time.
banking system.
And
Actually,
then
the
the
families that
filters
own
the
them.
filters are entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Our clothes, our brands,
Absolutely.
our system,
Absolutely.
our judicial system from
Absolutely.
Democrat, Republicans. Come on, how you expect us to not fight when y'all fighting up top?
And that wasn't
That's fake, too.
supposedly was not how the world was built
No.
by the forefathers and their statement of how everybody's supposed to be one, unos punos, and all that.
That ain't
But we're not that. We are. This country today is very, very, very divided.
Yes.
Shucks, the
I
Democratic
hate-
Party is so divided to ain't no telling who.
Very,
But
Okay.
people are divided within themselves.
Big
True.
time.
And because of that's where the healing starts. If
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
quit looking outside of themselves and start focusing on inside of who they are, because our brains are jacked up.
So that
Oh,
was
yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
next question. How do we overcome it? I think they have my clip notes to all my questions. That was my next question. How do we overcome it?
Change
Because
yourself.
Mind transforming,
Yes.
transforming of the
Be
mind.
transformed by the renewing,
Renewing
of
of your mind.
Put
That's
a little word
scripture,
on it.
honey.
All right, I see
That's
y'all.
scripture,
how-
honey.
but
Y'all went
how
to church.
do
I see you went to
That's
church.
Bible.
How do you get
How
to
do
the
you do
masses,
that?
though?
How do you
know?
do that?
One person at a time.
But the masses have to see the light of the people that's actually transforming. Because transforming results in if you get around me, when you walk off, I'm pretty sure, and I'm not saying this cockily, you're going to feel you was loved by me. Not because I'm cocky, because I know what I practice when I'm not around you guys.
I was just getting ready to say that. It's
know
like
my practice.
we all saying this here, but when we're in a day-to-day contact with people, the people you come in contact with every day, you know, they should know where you stand, and you should pour into them self-love
Yes.
when you come in contact with them.
Yes.
You know.
My quote is, may the life I live speak for me. So what you see in me is what is my life. At the end of life, you will say this, and this about Pharaoh, because that's what I've given you, and that's what I've shown you. And I say that to everybody here. May the life that you guys live speak for you. And when it does, it will resonate onto other people. You know, if you're a peaceable person, people will be able to see that.
Yes.
You know, whatever that is, people will be able to see. Your life needs to speak for you, not just when you're in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Correct.
But as you were saying, in your day-to-day life, how are you? And
Well, it
that's how
didn't
it should
speak
be.
yesterday because I called it late.
Yeah.
It was a little raggedy yesterday.
But you know, for instance, if you're responsible for working with children, you know, God has blessed me with a special gift of identifying gifts in children and then nurturing those gifts and pulling it out.
Awesome.
And whereas, you know, most of the kids that I work with, some of them, they're on their last leg at the school. You know,
Okay.
they're about to get put out of school or, you know, whatever. They're at a pivotal point in their life. And so I'm constant where somebody else is saying, oh, that person is bad and, you know, they need to go. You know, they're going to be in jail before they're 15, you know, whatever. I'm pouring something else into them. I am working with God. God is using me to identify something in there to pull out, then give them something else to shoot for. You know, and so that's the kind of person that we are called to be. You know, when you come in contact with people, you know, you give them something else. If somebody comes to you constantly negative, you know, constantly negative, then you should be trying to counteract that with positive. There's some, Pastor Ralph West said that.
Talking about my pastor now.
No, somebody told me Ralph West will not allow you to be negative around him like for more than a minute, and then you got to turn it around.
Yeah.
You know, did you
yeah.
ever hear him say that?
I've been a member for 17
so
years.
you got to hear him turn it around. So because whatever's in heavy rotation in your mind is gonna come out of your mouth. You know, and if negativity is in heavy rotation, that's the song you're gonna play.
Yes.
You know, song you're gonna play. And I try to tell people, pick another song, baby. You know, let me change your song.
Yeah.
You know, to Blessed Assurance. You know, you know what I'm saying? Because Paul said, if I think myself happy, if I'm always sad, then who's gonna make me glad? You know, so if you're a negative person, then it's my responsibility to pour positivity in you, and then you pour in him, you pour in him, and next thing you know, the whole room is
Each one reach
It's
one.
happy.
yeah.
Okay, so do you guys think it's too late to learn from other races to make a change?
Never.
Never
Too late. I don't think that racism will ever be completely eradicated. I just don't.
No.
That's my opinion.
that's a sad thing.
It will always be, but I think it can be minimized. I think it can be minimized.
As much as you can.
As much as we can. And we have to understand that it starts with us. Like he said earlier, it starts within us. And that's where it begins. And we have to continue to be that person, because we can ignite change with just ourselves. You know, again, each one reach one. You know, one man can change the world if he ignites something in her, and then she has a whole body of people that she can pass it on to. We never know the impact that we can have, but we always need to make sure that it's a positive impact and an impact that's going to ignite change in the world. I love your platform with being able to recognize what you see in kids and taking them to another level. So many kids are missing that these days. And I
Yeah.
want to go back to something we said a moment ago as well. When we were talking about community and how a lot of times people want to stay in that community. They don't see beyond that. It's kind of like that syndrome with the elephant. The elephant can be chained to a tree for many, many years, and then you untie the elephant, and the elephant never realizes he's untied and set free. He stays in that same
Yeah, in
place
that
because
same
he's been conditioned that way. And I think the same thing is applicable to us as humans. So often we're trained a particular way, and we stay right there because that's how we were trained.
Are we scared? Like
Or
she's
fear,
scared.
absolutely. So sometimes we need to be prodded, you know,
Yeah.
and just like my sister just said a moment ago with kids, seeing the talent that they have. Sometimes they need to be prodded to go to that next level. They have to be poked and prodded and talked to and nourished and nurtured so they can go to that next place. The same thing exists when it comes to racism. We have to show people who we are based on our hearts. And I think that type of thing can help to eradicate racism in the world. Will it always be here? It's going to always be here, but it can definitely be minimized.
Yeah.
I believe and over time, I'm not saying next week or next year, on this planet, racism will be gone.
I
Why?
do too.
Because there's people like us that believe it will.
And as we have to evolve as a human
Yes.
race, or we're going to destroy the planet, and there won't be anybody here.
It's
anyway.
going to change.
So
Well, I think it's great to have that type of hope.
Yeah.
And we all need hope. You
Well, you gotta remember,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
There's tales
But-
that's spoken of 10,000 years of a beautiful planet. And what's happening, I don't believe in these years there's going to be racism. This is in scripture all around in our books. Over after something, it's going to be an occurrence of something, depending on what religion you come from, will tell this tale differently. And or after this war, there's going to be a time of thousands of years of peace. This is
heaven on
And,
earth, right?
and that could,
Yes.
and that again, that could be a beautiful thing. In my life, will I see it? No.
no, we
No.
won't.
No, we won't.
And so I'm
No, I
only
agree
and,
with that.
and I'm
We
and
won't.
I'm
Yeah.
only speaking of my life,
Yeah.
my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we'll see it. Now who knows?
No.
God can do
It will
some,
be
some
nice. It
miracles,
will be
but I
wonderful,
don't feel
but
like
no.
I'll see it in my
But see,
lifetime.
our job in this time is to
Lay
what
a
we build with
platform,
our
lay a
kids.
foundation.
I tell my kids, what I do, I'm gonna take you high, but
Yeah.
you're gonna go higher. And we have to plant that seed. And once we do that, it's like a plant, it grows. And that's why I feel on this planet what I see it, because maybe we're the seed of this. But our seed is going to grow into a tree.
So you guys each of you give me one word, Ms. Sarah. Give me one
Emphasis on one word.
one
know, sorry.
positive word so we can close out this show. One positive word towards racism for the world to see. One word, Terry, Miss Carol.
You better not have my none of y'all better not have my word.
Hope you don't have my word.
Somebody go say
We
mine.
might all have the same word.
We might.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you start out. One word, not
Love.
You had,
Conquers
My
all.
word.
man, you had my word.
okay. I
My
said
word.
one word. What are you doing? What's your word?
Love.
Okay.
Honestly, love was my word.
Love was my word.
Come on with it.
Peace.
Okay. All righty then.
Love and peace.
Okay. And I think right now in 2020, that's what we need across the board.
Oh yeah.
Love,
we need
love,
is love.
love,
Love
and
is
peace.
positive energy on the
So-
scale. So when you see that little plus, that's love.
Yeah.
So same thing.
And love is doing what needs to be done for the object. My pastor used to say, doing what needs to be done for the object of your affection, no matter how you feel.
Come on.
So people look at love as a feeling. No, love is an action. Love is a verb.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It is an action.
She was getting into it, boy.
Yeah, she was.
We like action.
So I want to thank all my guests for being here today, most definitely, because I think you guys have shed a huge light today on racism, and we definitely have to do this again. And maybe next time we do it again, we'll add the younger generation
Come on.
that half of them don't even know the history of it.
And they
So-
have different life experience.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a whole
way
different,
different.
way different life experience.
Cultural.
So we'll definitely look into adding
Economic.
a younger generation in
Mental.
with you guys to explore race.
They do bad.
They cut up.
That's not me.
If you have any questions or need any information about any of my guests that was here today, you can definitely contact the Our Life TV Show at gmail.com. Catch us on Access Cable as well as the OnPoint Network, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. on the OnPoint Network. And guys, until next time, always empower, always encourage, and continue to remove your masks.